They will be Distinguished Toastmaster Kin, Distinguished Toastmaster Eric Tan, Syed Hamzah will be online as well, and our dear Zeph. Kin, I'd like to hand over the time. Any one of you may start the ball rolling.
Sure thing. Testing, testing. Can you hear me loud and clear? Sorry? Oh, yeah, what's the timing sequence for evaluation?
1 to 2 minutes per evaluator.
All right, so I'll begin. I thought that all speakers did really, really well to look in the camera and give their authentic stories. Dr. Jonna, for example, talked about adapting to real situations using real examples. The situation that he had to restart again, I thought was very well employed, and it gave credibility to what he said. I also did enjoy Cha's story, for example, about the friend who was hurt. Z also shared a little bit about how it's not, what Z did was quite different. It was about rewriting the frame. Instead of saying yes or no, it's not just about whole people, heal people, it's anyone can heal people. So that was a great demonstration of how you can reframe the topic to answer it in a way that you like. Going on to the other speakers as well, Niraj, great use of stories and examples. He talked about Mandela, very strong ethos and credibility when you use Nelson Mandela as an example. We can't really refute that. Krish gave a good story about his uncle as well with a strong conclusion. I like Michael's relatable personal story. I do hope you break and keep breaking the record, Michael. And of course, from Deepika, once again, personal story. So we saw that all speakers used personal stories to great effect for us to feel like we can relate, we can understand what they're dealing with, and we understand the point they're trying to make. Now, some areas to consider. Now, because some of the topics are really deep, for example, between integrity and harmony, it's really, really deep. So perhaps some of the speakers can consider defining, right, what integrity really means and what harmony really means. Because if we all have a different idea of what it is, then there's going to be a lot of questions in my mind. For example, Niraj did say that Mandela focused on harmony, but wasn't he also a man of great integrity? So once you have questions like that in the audience's mind, you kind of lose that credibility there. So consider defining. Let's see, for Krish, your examples were great, but a little confusing because you were saying, oh, you should work hard. No, you should go and sleep. No, you should do this, you should do that. But we weren't sure who was the character saying what. So use your body language to demonstrate. Use your voice if you need to. Maybe you are the one saying, I need to sleep. He said, no, don't need to sleep. Then we know it's two different characters and we understand the advice better. For Michael, I thought you could come to the point with the conclusion. You seem to be finding your way to end, but you didn't quite know how. I know this is common in Singapore, so sometimes the easiest way is to go short, sharp, and just conclude. For Deepika, I thought that your example went a little bit off the point. Consider using the STORY framework to make your story more related to the question so that it hits. Do I have 30 seconds more to complete the recommendations? Okay. So for Z, in table topics, we cut the preface, jump straight into it. I felt that you ended slightly off topic from what was given. So come back to the question and the topic instead of, which is what you did, right? The frame of anyone can heal people. And give us your own story so that there's more depth and credibility in what you're saying. For Dr. John Lau, very difficult for me to give him advice, but do be careful about being slightly preachy because you have so much authority and you command so well. I think for those that don't know you, see if you can soften your conclusion a little bit and punch in so that we can relate to you, not just as you as an expert, but you also as a fellow human being, right? And for Cha, watch your pause fillers. You had possibly 15 in your speaking. I know it's been a while since you've done this, but well done. Do consider challenging the audience, right, on how we can observe our own self and take the message home that if we are hurt, we might hurt others and what we can do about it. Thank you. Back to you, Table Topic Master.
Thank you for that magical enlightenment session, Kin. Certainly very magical, very enlightening, very heartwarming evaluation. Thank you so much. Could we have our next evaluator on site? Will Zeph be available?
Thank you. My assignment was to evaluate both Michael and Deepika as speakers 3 and 4, so that's what I shall do. First, I think, crowd president, well, Toastmasters, I would like to say that Michael did a very good job with using humor. Why? Because it engages your audience. When you talked about your stories, that was very fun. Okay, now for both Deepika and Michael, your had setting creation, which is important when you want your audience to follow your train of thought. Both of you had stories about your background, where you were 10 years ago, or how your family is as it is. So that is what you did very well, both of you. Now, in terms of improvements for Michael, as you can tell, there's like it's gonna be very, very hard to find anything. So I feel like it's not really an ache, but it's more like a challenge to you. Okay. So how could you relate your point to every audience from all age groups? Could you list examples to elaborate for different age groups of how they could challenge themselves to break those records? Like, for example, be the first officer in your family or something, or like be a good parent, as if they had a track record of not very nice parents, right? Yeah, so that's one of the things that I think you could challenge yourself to do. Otherwise, it was really well done. For Deepika, I felt like your setting creation could be a little bit more generic. So instead of saying 2013, say something that happened in that time so that the date is relevant. I'm not sure what was happening in 2013. Was it iPhone 4S? But yeah, okay, so that immediately gets all of us into the same period as you. Or let's say if you're saying your age, 23, say early 20s, then all of us have an idea of what is going on. I mean, at least some idea, right? Last point, to close up your topics, I felt like you talked about when you were a people pleaser last time, but then you didn't really close up how you changed to not be that anymore. But otherwise, good job. Back to you, table topic.
Thank you, Zeph. Certainly refreshing to hear it from you from the different points of perspective. Let me just do a quick check. Hamzah, are you ready? Or skip first?
You might want to skip first.
Skip first. Eric, are you ready to go?
Okay.
Thanks, Eric. Over to
Yes,
you.
sir. All right, Club President, fellow Toastmasters and friends, a very good evening. Thank you for having me as an evaluator. My assignment was to evaluate Niraj and Krish. So the first thing that I'd like to mention is what can we all learn from them? I guess they were put in a spot whereby they have to choose between A or B. And they have decided that once they make that decision, there was no turning back. And they were pushing through in that direction, even though sometimes it may be tough for both of you, but you still managed to find that way. So kudos to you for that courage. Second, I think that I love the fact that you all have substantiate your point with examples. I think it makes you more credible in that sense. It allows the audience to have a learning point that they can take away from you, which is something that you all can continue with. One of the recommendation, if I may, for both of you will be the fact that if ever there's a topic that is in alignment with choosing between A or B, you have to know that you can always choose option C, which is either to take in both or to reject both. For example, integrity or harmony, which is important? Both are equally important. That could be your answer. By saying that, you don't have to choose. And you will find yourself in the situation where you have to push through, in certain sense, especially for Niraj. So Niraj, in your point, you mentioned about Racism USA. So you are saying harmony is important, but in your example, you are targeting a specific group of people. Now that can break the harmony notion. So you may want to use more general example, or just say that maybe somewhere in the West, just a general example. And for Krish, you were saying that, health is better. Now, in the context, could you go for something more exciting? By saying, I don't believe in health. I believe money can solve all things. With money, I can have all the health I want. Could we do that? So that is a challenge for you to stand out, to be more outstanding. All right. So the conclusion will be consider challenging the topic, okay, sharing more self-experience, and have one learning point for the audience to take away. And I think you all both will excel in the table topics. Thank you.
Wow, gems of wisdom from Eric, heartfelt. I believe both Niraj and Krish will certainly use this at the next contest. Thank you so much. Hamzah, I had to put you in the line in the spotlight.
Sure.
Hamzah,
Thank
over
you so
to you
much,
once you're ready.
Vincent. Thank you. Very good evening, fellow club president, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Once again, I am here online. Apologies for not being physically present. For myself, I'm tasked to give feedback to speaker number 5 and 6, which is Tra and Zeph. With regards to the topics, both of them have attempted, to be honest, if you read the two topics, right? Hurt people, hold people, heal people, it's kind of like a tongue twister if you think about it when you read it for the first time. And I would like to really applaud both of them for the effort to think through what they want to say. And I'm sure that when they read the topic, they were pretty stumbled by it. Now, when you come across such topics, okay, where it is more like a play of words, personally, for me, one of the ways that I could always think about it is to look at, if you look at let's say we took the topic on hold people, heal people, right? We look at the first half of the topic. So when you look at the entire sentence itself, it may seem a little bit complicated, but it is always better to divide and conquer. So given a 1 to 2 minute speech, what you can do, okay, this is more of like a room for improvement for both speakers, is to consider what do you really think of the sentence hold people, heal people, and always give your perspective to it. Now, I know both of you did give your perspectives, but it wasn't really clear. And also one more thing is to consider, after telling your perspective, what do you want us to take away from based on your approach to the topic? So that's with regards to my advice to the both of you. But apart from that, I think kudos for the effort for attempting the topic, and back to you, Toastmaster, table topic master.
Thank you, Hamzah. It's heartening to hear feedback even from the comforts of your home, and certainly you are still a well-loved member of Tampines Changkat Toastmasters. Thank you for sharing your inputs tonight. The question is, does the magic end here after the evaluation? Or are we left asking ourselves one question this evening? Who is our online champion?